We just have to address the elephant in the room. We're getting a lot of texts from women about Miller and his appearances and his appearance. Our audience at Primetime believes you're some sort of sexual matador. What do you have to say for yourself?
Did they? Did they? I don't think they did. I mean, maybe they did if you consider the average age of a Fox News viewer, which is, I believe, in their 70s. But anyone who's not in that demographic, I would venture to say, does not find this guy hot. I don't know. I'm not the arbiter of what is hot for everybody, okay? Everyone has different tastes.
If not you, who? If not you, who?
So that's Stephen Miller, of course, and Stephen Miller. Look, I think attractiveness has a lot to do with the content of someone's character. And even for guys who seem to be a lot more visual in that regard than women are, women seem to care more about certain characteristics that aren't physical. But still, like, for me, Stephen Miller is a bad person. So like, even if he looked like Christian, who I think is very hot, I don't think he would do it for me, because just hearing the things that he has to say, knowing about the types of policies he succeeded in implementing, certainly early on during Trump's term, that stuff is gonna weigh heavy on my mind when it comes to judging someone's physical appearance, if you catch my drift.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I made fun of his appearance plenty on TDR this morning. I'm not gonna do that right now. I think
you're saving the good stuff for your show. I see you. I see you.
Look, there's a lot about Stephen Miller that I think is really gross. And I think the stuff he believes, the stuff he says, the stuff he does is so much grosser than the fact that he looks like someone made a dark version of Pinocchio, where rather than starting with a puppet, they started with Voldemort's penis and granted it life. Like, the stuff he does is so much worse than that, which I think is indisputable. Yeah, no, Jesse Watters is roasting him, I think, because Jesse Watters didn't get those text messages. Jesse Watters definitely thinks he's way hotter than Stephen Miller. So like, does Stephen Miller not know that Jesse Watters is kind of making fun of his appearance? I don't think that Stephen Miller is under any illusions that he's a hottie or anything.
Never underestimate. No. Don't do it. Don't do it.
You think?
Never underestimate the unearned confidence of a man. I'm just keeping it 100.
Okay.
I am. Come on. Like, women nitpick every inch of their bodies and their face and their hair. And like, you can have literally one of the most beautiful women in the world, and her self-perception, the perception of her own beauty, is like totally out of whack. And look, I don't think it's because like, oh, men are inherently one way and women are inherently another way. I think it has a lot to do with like societal conditioning and how we are kind of conditioned to view ourselves. And mass media has always been a lot more critical of women's appearance. I mean, this is the reason why if you watch news, like broadcast news, it'll always be like, for the most part, right? There are a few exceptions, but the exceptions prove the rule. The women look like dolls, like gorgeous. And then the men can look like whatever they want. Like, it doesn't matter. Let's keep it real. You look great,
than
John.
David Muir.
This is not a comment about you. David Muir.
Well, yes, I think David Muir and me, obviously we're bringing up the average. I think everybody knows. I think even Jesse Watters would acknowledge that. I think when he sees David Muir and me, he thinks about having a milkshake, I think, and using a straw, I think. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I remember years ago we covered the story where some news broadcaster, I think it might've been in like New Zealand or Australia, he wore the exact same suit, tie, and shirt every day for a year, and nobody noticed because nobody looks at men. Like, nobody even care.
I mean, there's something super liberating about that, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of sad because sometimes you want to be noticed, but it's also liberating in that you don't have to worry as much about your appearance. And look, you were asking, hey, did Stephen Miller not realize that Jesse Watters might be trolling him? Well, let's hear what Miller had to say for himself on Primetime.
Let me give advice to any young man that's out there. I'm married now, I have children, but I wasn't married that long ago. I was single, I was in the market. If you're a young man
It's very important in election season, who's looking to impress ladies, to be the alpha, to be attractive. The best thing you can do is to wear your Trump support on your sleeve. Show that you are a real man. Show that you are not a beta, right? Be a proud and loud Trump supporter, and your dating life will be fantastic.
I cannot wait to see the text tonight. Stephen Miller, thank you.
So, John, I think you should try that experiment. I know you're a married woman. It would only a married man to a woman. You know are not going to actually like make a good on anything, but like the experiment might be fun. Well, you know, wear a MAGA hat in LA and see if the ladies come flocking.
Oh my God, yeah, to maybe throw a milkshake in my face and it would be well earned. So look, I try to be fair. I think most people go into evaluating what someone says on the other side with, what would it be best for me if this is what they meant by it? And I try not to do that. I try to like consider multiple possibilities. So I think Stephen Miller could either be, and this is my favorite version, totally unaware that Jesse Watters is roasting him and totally sincere in that terrible advice. That's entirely possible, but it's not the only possible explanation. He could be roasting other MAGA men because he doesn't fundamentally care about anyone other than himself. He could be doing that. Also, I think we should consider whether it's actually bad advice. Like it is bad advice if the goal is for a MAGA man to get a bunch of partners, because a lot of women are gonna find the MAGA thing disgusting. But if you're a MAGA guy who's listening to Stephen Miller for dating advice, it's probably really important to you that women are incredibly submissive, have no opinions that you haven't provided to them, and do whatever you say and don't demand any rights. And what better way to weed the women who aren't like that out than with a red hat and talking about MAGA? Because those sorts of women are not gonna be interested. It's like when the Nigerian prince scam, how those emails always have a bunch of typos. It's to weed out people who might be able to eventually see through the scam. They want people who respond to that to have no chance of understanding they're being scammed. So I think the MAGA thing could serve that same purpose for these men.
So I think that's an interesting point, but I will say years of TYT's on the ground coverage of Trump rallies in which our very own reporters like Michael Shore interview female Trump supporters would have me believe that they're plenty opinionated. Okay, they like to speak their minds. So
I think they have acceptable opinions from the point of view of a MAGA man.
Fair, that's fair. Okay, so we know what the advice is coming from Stephen Miller, but I mean, does he practice what he preaches? Does he himself show undying love and support for Donald Trump?
Let me also just say, since we're addressing the subject of style, the most stylish president and first lady in our lifetimes are Donald Trump and Melania Trump. Donald Trump's a style icon. He changed American fashion in The Apprentice. People spent the next 10 years trying to dress like Donald Trump. So if anybody deserves a puff piece on their sense of style, it's Donald Trump and the First Lady. Joe Biden, to the point that Mike Huckabee made so well, looks like a walking corpse. The only style article that should be written about Joe Biden is how you've mastered the art of looking embalmed.
I really wish we cut out the part that I agree with, which is the last part about Biden. I'm just keeping it real. I do also agree that Melania Trump dresses well. I do believe she's beautiful. That has nothing to do with politics. Put that aside. But Donald Trump just wears the same suit. Like he wears the navy blue suit with the white shirt and the giant red tie.
That's way too long.
I mean, like
that's it.
Yeah, to me, it's like the equivalent of like a Silicon Valley tech guy wearing a black mock neck sweater. You know, it's boring and it's expected and nothing unusual or interesting about it.
Yeah, no, not at all. And I'm not even saying that people weren't, I guess, trying to dress like him. Maybe they'd never seen anyone in a suit before and they were like, oh, that's an interesting type of clothing. Let me try that. But I don't think anyone who was already interested in style was like, I'm gonna set aside all of my own trends and stuff and I'm gonna go for Donald Trump. And it's all like whenever we evaluate Donald Trump's physical appearance or clothing or whatever, it's all a waste. He has unlimited money. he could be the best dressed man on the planet. He could go to Savile Row, have every suit bespoke, interesting fabrics, and just
look
cool
at you, John.
ties.
Okay.
But he doesn't do any of that stuff. It's all the same exact cheap looking, untailored suit with a tie that's way too long, obviously compensating for something.
How hot would we be if we were rich? Like, really think about it. Like, you just mentioned,
I don't know how much higher the ceiling is for me, but it wouldn't hurt.
Get out of here. No, but I love what you just said. I mean, you're focusing on, dressing well, you have the money for it, why not? And like I've said before, it's not just that they have the money and they should think about it. It's that they have an obligation to the rest of us to dress well.
I've heard you say that before, yes.
Just being honest here. All right, well, it seems that Jesse Watters can't control himself around all of these attractive men lately because he was, talking to Trump attorney Alina Habba, who's a looker herself, and his mouth was watering over someone. Let's see who it was.
Well, I mean, you're right. 2 hoaxes blew up last night. The Walls hoax, that he was just this regular guy, this lovable curmudgeon that was just going to be relatable to the everyday white man that she needs. And that JD was this psychopath that was going to turn women off. Meanwhile, women are telling me they loved it. Are you hearing that women were attracted to that performance?
Yes, 100% actually.
Okay, was Jesse Watters trolling in that segment, or was he being for real? I mean, different strokes for different folks. No judgment if you find you were attracted to JD Vance after watching that debate. I don't share that take. But what was that? By the way, who even cares? Why is that the line of questioning?
Okay, I think.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think there is something ideological to it. And I'm not saying that he's being honest here. I think this could be artifice. This could be planned. But the idea is that in theory, JD Vance turns off women because he clearly doesn't like women in general. He doesn't care if they have rights. He doesn't care if they have jobs. He thinks if they don't have kids, they have no value. As soon as they can't have kids anymore, what's the point of them? I guess to raise my kids. But other than that, get out. Oh, I don't like to see you. That turns off some women. And Jesse Watters is like, well, okay, how do we get them back? Well, women like hot guys. So I guess if the guy taking the rights away is hot, they'll like him. Again, it's like Trump being like, women, you won't be thinking about abortion. I'll protect you from scary Colombians. It's like they think women are really scared and possibly horny. And those are the 2 routes that we have to getting their support. They're scared, sometimes horny creatures. And I think we can use that.
I literally can, well, I don't want to say literally cannot think of anything else, but because I can't think of other things, but nothing turns me off sexually than American politics. Okay, it did not even occur to me to be aroused in any way as we were watching the VP debate. It's just, come on. My mind didn't even go there. That's the thing. Why did Jesse Watters' mind go there? No one was messaging you, Jesse, to tell you that oh yeah, I'm a lady and I'm super turned on by JD Vance. Ooh, that didn't happen. You made that up, but why are you thinking about it? What is this?
That's true. When we should return to that. I think you go a little bit too far. I don't think that anything that either of the candidates said was a turn on. But when JD Vance was trying to talk over the moderators to get more points in, and finally they cut his ass off, that does something, I guess. I kind of like that. But anyway, yeah, Jesse, look, I don't know to what extent Jesse Watters is saying what he actually believes ever, even in this case too, or if this is just some sort of strategy where he doesn't feel comfortable talking about policy, so he just talks about how hot things are. It's a dumb person defense mechanism. I don't know. I buy that, but I don't know. All I know is he never stops talking about how hot some guys are, how hot other guys aren't, what makes a guy hot, what makes a guy athletic or alpha. And by the way, he's hardly alone in this. That's a very popular thing for right-wing men online. Andrew Tate and all of them never stop evaluating men and their virility and handsomeness or whatever. So again, and maybe he's faking it. I don't know. I just know that he never stops talking about it.
True. In fact, I'm sure you all remember this banger.
some things we just can't let slide. Joe Biden used a straw. It's not just straws, Jimmy. Soup is another problem area. Men shouldn't eat soup in public. Again, you're pursing your lips in anticipation. You lean your head out trying not to spill it. Come on. Sometimes you have to blow on it if it's too hot. It's too hot. No. You can have soup in private, or you can have a stew, a nice hearty stew. And then there's this French onion soup situation. Have you guys seen this? Guys are out there dipping the spoon in, and you have cheese like this, like above your, and guys are going in like this trying to, and then twirling it in there with their tongues. I am now going to book the Fulton County photographer for my Christmas card. Because, Judge, and I say this with a unblemished record of heterosexuality, he looks good. And he looks hard. It's a handsome mugshot. My wife says he looks fierce. He looks hard.
That's what she said.
I think we all know that there are, in theory, other ways that he could have expressed that. And I think he knows there are other ways that he could have expressed that. I think he made a choice, and I think he's sticking with it. By the way, some people in their criticism, Jesse Watters might be like implying that he might be secretly gay. I don't think that literally at all. I think he either has the weird thing that happens to straight right-wing men where they're trained to be constantly anxious about their own masculinity, or he thinks it will be appealing to male viewers to just never stop talking about this stuff. And he's probably not wrong about that.
I have to say, prior to this, I found Jesse Watters like so boring. I mean, producers would pitch stories about him, and every once in a while, Cenk would like it, and I'd be like, no, I want to crush this story. I don't want to. But finally, Jesse, thank you. He's finally doing something that amuses me, and I want to talk about. This is it. This is it. It's so funny.
And I think to some extent, it demonstrates that he has kind of learned the lesson of Tucker Carlson, which is we need to have a show that takes up an hour of our news network that people watch and think they're learning about news in the world, but we never talk about the news or anything that's happening.
I don't watch his show
a popular
at all,
thing.
so I have no idea what he typically talks about. But the stuff that we bring up is complete and utter nonsense. And you know what? I will allow it. I will allow it because sometimes it's fun to comment on complete and utter nonsense. All right.
Sure.